through storms, unshaken, unbowed. Through trials and verdicts, still standing proud. A titan in the tempest, against the raging crowd. He's got a vision for the future, gonna shout it loud. Changing the wind, it's coming fast. A new foundation built to last. Cryptocurrency's the key. Make the big switch. Power to the people. Time to teach the rich. Legal battles can't hold him. He's moving on. With plans so bold, from dusk till dawn. He's rewriting the rules. A new dawn's day. From the hands of the few to the people's way. Say good.
Welcome, everyone, to the Crazy Kryptonaut channel. I am Zester, and thank you guys so much for joining me this morning. I hope everyone is having an awesome start to their week. Cryptocurrency markets are not having an awesome start to their week, but we'll get into that in just a little bit after we say some good mornings. We're going to jump into it today. Good morning and happy Monday, Mile High Trish. Good morning, Mary Jones. Good morning, Crazy Chester. Oof. Mile High Trish, my bro came in from Thailand with the flu. So sick he had to stay at my house. So far, I haven't gotten it. Oh, good luck, Mile High Trish. I hope you are going hard on the vitamin C, the mushrooms, all the extra vitamins to keep the immune system up. And that stinks. That stinks. Hopefully it's not too bad of a flu or some kind of crazy Thailand version that's about to come to the States. Good morning. The Gits say Ray. Hey, hello. Good morning, Epicenter or Deborah. Good morning. Good morning, Robin. Hey, there you go. Crazy Chester paid the neighbor's son $20 to shovel our driveway. I actually am total tangent on that one, but I was thinking about the fact earlier that essentially things like shoveling snow or mowing grass, at least as for a guy, those were the first jobs that we were ever told to do, or like as a child. We're informed that for some reason those were our jobs, or like taking out the trash. I don't know. I was thinking about that one the other day because I don't know. Guys grow up with a fascination in terms of taking care of their yard and things like that. And I wonder if it's not because it's one of the first things we're ever told we're supposed to do. Because just that example, Crazy Chester, what kid at 9 years old, 10 years old, just randomly has people offering him money? The only thing they offer a 9 or 10-year-old money to do is to mow the lawn or shovel snow. All right. I don't know. Tangent. My apologies there. Please do remember, as we get into the cryptocurrency news, remember that the content in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes, not intended to provide financial advice. Please consult with a financial professional before making any investment decisions. Thank you guys so much for making certain I get that one. Good morning, Papa Bear. Glad you made it. Top of the morning to you as well, Johnny. Hey, greetings, Christina. Oh, a happy Monday right back at you. Good morning, Cosmic. Stephanie. Good morning, CJ. Oh, good morning, everybody. We're going to have a fun one today. Yep, Crazy Chester. That's how I started mowing lawns and raking leaves. Yeah, it is. It's the oddest thing, but that is like the guarantee. If you are a boy growing up, you are going to have random people, even like for some reason, your neighbor who doesn't even really know you will feel very confident asking a 10 or 11-year-old to handle a lawnmower around their yard. I don't know what it is. Hey, please, guys, let me know if there's any issue with audio, because I can tell my microphone's being a little odd. And so if I start coming in quiet, please let me know, guys. Please let me know on that one. I may need to unplug it and replug it real quick or something. All right. Think that fixed it. Let's go ahead and jump into it, guys. Okay, all right, it is, it is. And so the mic is coming in and out softly, not horrible, but it is noticeable. I think that I fixed it. I think it was just one of those typical tech issues where all you got to do is unplug it and plug it back in. But all right, let's jump into it, guys. Let's jump into it. We have a few interesting ones today. Of course, we'll start off with the fact that things are not looking great across the entire cryptocurrency market at the moment. Market saw $150 billion erased off of the overall market cap in the past 48 hours. Bitcoin sitting at $87,614. Ethereum back below 3K. And XRP actually doing pretty well considering how bad Bitcoin's taking it on the chin right now. XRP is still sitting at $1.93. XRP actually managed to hold while Bitcoin dropped. Or managed to recover, I should say, much faster than Bitcoin on this one. And why? Well, when it comes down to it, there's a lot of major worries around the world going on. And of course, we've got one big one at home when it comes to the cryptocurrency conversation in the Clarity Act. And so I debated changing the title of the live stream today to specifically be about the Clarity Act because we got a fair amount of information. Remember, on last Friday, we talked about the Clarity Act, and we knew at that point that Senator Cynthia Lummis, who's really pushing everything on the crypto side, had said that there was a new conversation being had. Essentially, something else had gotten brought up, but we didn't know what that was yet. And well, it turns out another article we had been looking at that same day on last Friday actually had the answer in it. And it was the article about the American Banking Association is lobbying in order to essentially get rid of stablecoin rewards. And so right now, one of the major debate points or the sticking points on the Clarity Act is debating interest rates and rewards for holding cryptocurrencies or digital assets or any tokenized asset. And so, without knowing, we actually had talked about it on Friday. Now we do know. Now we have gotten that information. And, well, that is going to change some conversations. And so, the big U.S. crypto bill is on the move. This, of course, is in reference to the Clarity Act. And so let's go through a little bit of this one. This is an important article. I'm going to go ahead and pop this one into the chat. This is a very, very good one for those who want more of a comprehensive learn about the Clarity Act and be done. It's a fairly long article, but it's not crazy. You know, here to here, and you'll pretty much know everything big picture on the Clarity Act. And so that one is in the chat for anyone who wants to check it out. Of course, we've been keeping up with it so much. Y'all are aware of most of this. It had already passed the House back in July of last year. And now it has been essentially stuck in the Senate for a while. It is supported by the executive. It's supported by President Trump. And so all indications are if it makes it to his desk, it's getting signed. No line item vetoes or anything of that nature planning on occurring. But it suddenly hit some roadblocks in the later parts of 2025. Many people were expecting the Clarity Act to be passed before the end of the year. It started to hit roadblocks, mainly coming from the Elizabeth Warren crews and her cronies in the Senate. Primarily very, very angry about what it's doing to the banking industry and very, very concerned about the idea of a central bank digital currency. And so we had known that was happening. Well, now there's a very large debate occurring, and primarily the funding is coming from the banking institutions in the United States. They're very, very angry about the rewards and the interest that people are earning with their digital assets. So let's jump into that one for a second. A little bit more of going through an article and reading it than I typically like to do, but in this circumstance, I believe it's necessary. And so, Clarity Act aims to define the overall framework and regulations for cryptocurrencies in the United States. It had no problem in the House of Representatives, and well, it didn't seem to have any problem moving forward in the Senate, and then suddenly it did. And so, what ended up happening? It was going to be establishing the overall framework, making the distinctions between digital assets, traditional finance. Crypto platforms such as Coinbase and Kraken would be registered with federal regulators. Stablecoin issuers such as Circle and Tether would have their regulations akin to banking standards. Clarity Act essentially is going to bring the same standards that would occur in the banking industry to the cryptocurrency industry. The full legitimization of the entire digital asset industry. Establishing the guardrails, establishing the framework for how it interacts with traditional finance and the antiquated or the old financial system. Clarity Act sets all of that up. And so, in the event of the sweeping new law, crypto assets are likely to become significantly safer, although far, far, far more closely tracked and managed. You'll be able to get help from the government when you have disputes or problems or somebody steals your crypto. But if you're among the narrower group of those who keeps your own custody and uses platforms without human management, decentralized exchanges, this corner of the crypto sector is set to be subjected to more rules meant to head off criminals. And so this is decentralized finance that the Clarity Act does not tend to like. More regulations should protect people, but also not necessarily a huge win. And here's where the big kicker came in with the new conversation. If you're accustomed to getting a return on your crypto holdings, such as through a program like Coinbase's USDC rewards, we've looked at that one. There's some uncertainty as to what they may look like in the future, depending on how the negotiations go. And so that right there appears to be the major sticking point at this point in time. The new debate that is currently going on in the Senate is they want to tie in essentially the lobby that we talked about on Friday, that the American Banking Association wants for the United States federal government to disallow earning of rewards or interest through digital assets. And so they don't want you to be able to, say, stake your stable coin, or say stake your gold backed cryptocurrency or your dollar backed cryptocurrency. They don't want you to stake and earn interest on your XRP. They don't want any of this because, as we've talked about, earning interest and keeping all of it for themselves, that's the bank's gig. And so the bank doesn't want you in on that gig. And in all honesty, this debate and whoever decided, I'm guessing this is a Warren or one of her cronies, this could very easily derail a lot of the conversation on the Clarity Act, or could result in a far diminished version of the Clarity Act being passed. And so this is a little worrying. This is a little worrying, in all honesty, when you're worried about the timeline. And you remember, I want the Clarity Act passed in first quarter of 2026. This part of the conversation and the idea of trying to figure out how you're going to regulate interest rates and returns on digital assets and tokenized real world assets, this is not a conversation that I want the Senate to be having right now. It's an important conversation that needs to be had, but trying to peg this to the Clarity Act seems like an intentional, it's like someone's intentionally poking holes in the legislation. Someone's intentionally trying to make certain that the Clarity Act can't pass. Because if Republicans were to support this version that would essentially cut all abilities for interest rates and things like that to be earned on digital assets, that's cutting the future financial system off at the knees. You're taking away the massive win that this new financial system provides to the everyday user, because that's the massive win. What we're moving towards is a financial system where you are the bank. You have the same financial tools, the same instruments that a bank or a financial institution would have. That's the world we're moving towards. And so if they go and they say, well, hey, we're moving towards that world, but you're not going to get any of the benefits of it, then in all honesty, what this bill is pushing for is central bank digital currencies. And so this is concerning in many ways. We'll have to see how much traction it gains. And this is going to be a very, very important one for us to look at our own party and hold them accountable on it. Ultimately, any Republican, any Democrat, any politician that continues to support two parts of what I just went through: the destruction of decentralized finance and self-custodian wallets, or the removal of any ability to earn interest or rewards off of our crypto and digital assets. Any politician that is against or is supporting these two things, we need to hold very, very much accountable, regardless of their party affiliation. Because these are the nuances that the average person who doesn't know a lot about crypto are not going to notice and not going to see. They're going to say, oh, yeah, what does it matter? So I can't earn rewards on my Chuck E. Cheese tokens. And that's what some average person's going to be thinking when they see this. And it turns out that's beyond untrue. This is essentially taking away a lot of the wins that cryptocurrency is providing, that the blockchain technology is providing to the world. The ability for you to become your own bank, the ability for you to start being the person who manages money, who manages liquidity, manages capital. And they're trying to take that away. And so this one is, it's concerning, but also I think that this was an intentional debate. I think this is very much one of those intentional writers that was designed to try and kill the bill. I don't think they actually think that they're going to succeed. I think that they're hoping that they're going to be able to essentially alter other parts of the legislation, that they can strong arm some of their other desires in there. Right now, I'd be okay with there being a little bit more framework and regulation on decentralized finance, if that's the debate they have to have, or that's the carrot they have to give. But ultimately, neither of these are really acceptable. They both cut to the core of the new financial system. They both take away some of the major benefits that were meant for the average everyday person. Those are the ones they're trying to take away. They of course want to keep the ability to manage and see everybody's money, to be able to manage the blockchain, all the transparency and the ability for them to view it. They want that to stay, but they want to take away the benefits that are being provided to the average everyday user. This one's going to remain a debate, in my opinion. All right, let's see what I missed. All right, this gets raised, responding to Crazy. Hub said, side-eyed me into getting into silver and gold back in 2021. Now he's a silver bug. Absolutely. Well, hey, I know I was looking at it just earlier, but it's hard not to be a silver bug at the moment with the current prices. Crazy Chester, Uncle got you back into silver in 1995. Silver from $6 to $8. Yeah. Definitely wishing you got a bunch more. I am the same right now myself. Been buying silver for many years, but wish I had bought a lot more. Because, yeah, $114.62 silver as of right now. It is insane to think about. Absolutely insane to think about where our silver has gone. All right. We are that we're not buying more. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, the banks are becoming old, expensive, and obsolete. Yeah, no, I feel so bad for them. I feel so bad for them. This is why it's important to own your own crypto keys. The banks will start selling crypto, but they want to hold the keys so they can earn yield, not us. Exactly. Exactly. They're trying to trick us into essentially giving them back the driver's keys. This technology is providing the ability for all of us to become the bank. And right now, we have got the banking lobby and we've got certain lawmakers that are trying to trick us into essentially giving up our win. And that is not about to happen, or it shouldn't happen. RD portfolio up substantially. Oh, that is awesome. 97%. Yeah. Hey, well, mining stocks right now, you really cannot go wrong on that one. If it's precious metals or anything related to the industry. All right, RV Flyer, with banks possibly having a problem, would money be safe in crypto exchanges? Maybe putting it in stable coins. RV Flyer, ultimately, the safest way is going to be when it's on your wallet, not on any exchange, when it's on your wallet. And so when I say that, I mean a hardware wallet or the like. That's going to be the ultimate safe spot. But banks don't want that, and that's why they're doing this. RV Flyer. Banks do not want you to have your own wallet, because if you custodian your crypto with them, then they get to keep playing the same game they played for the past 100 years. They get to keep earning interest off of your capital. And so they want you to give them your capital, and they want you to store it with them, because they're darn sure still going to earn an interest. This bill does not mean that banks don't earn interest. It means you don't earn interest. It means I don't earn interest. This bill does not in any way talk about how the banks are not going to be earning interest. And so that's why this debate is so frustratingly irritating. It's not that they said, hey, nobody gets to earn interest. If they had said nobody, well, at least they're getting screwed just as much as we are. But no, that's not what they want. They want you to not be able to earn interest on crypto. They want you to not self-custodian your crypto. They want you to custodian your crypto with them, and they be the only ones that can earn interest off of it. That's what they want, because that's the gig they've always had. That is how banks work. That's how they make money. They make money by earning money off of your money. Banks are one of the most useless, complete wastes of time industries on the planet. They provide nothing, absolutely nothing. And in this new financial system, well, we can finally get rid of them. But that's why they're fighting so hard on things like this. That's why it's so important. Because how are banks going to pay the bills if they're not earning interest off your money? They're going to have to start actually doing something. They're going to have to actually start providing a service. They don't want to do that. It sounds like a pain. It sounds like work. All right. Let's say, Ray, we go to the grocery store and take groceries home. They deliver property everywhere, elsewhere. Exchanges can freeze to go busy. Look at Voyager Celsius. That's a good way of looking at it. That is a very good way of looking at it. Another way I like to say it is you wouldn't walk around town with $20,000 in your pocket. But yeah, exactly. You're not going to go and buy groceries and then just leave them at the grocery store and be like, they'll be there when I come back. No, you're going to take them home. You're going to put them in the cabinet. You're going to put them in the fridge. Exactly. Judy, is it safe on Uphold? Judy, Uphold seems to be a pretty good exchange. I have some crypto on Uphold. I don't worry about it. But Judy, if we're talking about a substantial amount of crypto, or we're talking about crypto you are holding for the future, then I would recommend getting it off of an exchange, because something could just happen to Uphold. Uphold's a company. Uphold has employees and business owners and everything else. And if something happens, Judy is suddenly going to be suffering the consequences of Uphold. And so I highly recommend that once it hits that price point where it starts to really matter that you're going to have it in the future, that is when you start looking at your own wallet. That's when you start becoming the self-custodian of your own cryptocurrency. It's right when it hits that point. But never go out there. Don't go buying a $50 hardware wallet if you've only got $50 of crypto. That's the cart before the horse. Essentially, start learning about crypto, start getting a little bit, dabble in things, don't go crazy, learn about it more than anything. And then when you are starting to feel comfortable and you are starting to get confident with making a transaction or making a purchase, then you start to look towards where am I going to self-custodian it. But yeah, that's the same idea, you don't go building a basketball court in the backyard because you think that your kid might like basketball. He go plays at the YMCA every once in a while before you go hang in a basketball hoop up in the driveway. You get the basics first. All right, Johnny Guffey bought XRP a couple of years ago using Lobster. Lobster. I was a newbie, never touched, only added. Please make me feel better about safety or alternative advice. I beg you, Johnny. Johnny, no worries here. Now, I will say, Johnny, we need to get that crypto off of Lobster. That Lobster is one exchange that I have got an absolute vendetta against. Lobster has lost a lot of people a lot of money. And so, Johnny, absolutely, you're fine. No panics. You've done the right thing. But I would highly recommend getting off of Lobster. Just even moving to another exchange. Move it to Coinbase. At least then you'll be a little bit safer than you would have been sitting on Lobster. Lobster is the one and only exchange, guys, that I will say you need to get your money out of there. If you have some money on Uphold and you're not worried about it, leave it there. You got some money in Gemini and you're not worried about it, leave it there. You got anything in Lobster, it needs out. But Johnny, do not go trying to get it out in a panic. We've got time. And so, Johnny, what we're going to do here is we're going to set up an exchange account on, say, Coinbase or Gemini. And now that's going to give you a place to put it that is safer than Lobster. So there's one option. Now, Johnny, if you want to go ahead and you want to go straight towards the ultimate, the self-custodian option, then I would suggest a Ledger hardware wallet. It's going to be a bit more technical, man. We're going to need to walk you through certain things. But once you've gotten your crypto there, then you no longer need to be worrying about this whole safety concern. Once your crypto is on a hardware wallet and you know how to access that hardware wallet, there is no longer anything to be worried about. The only worry you have is losing that hardware. And I know that, that though is easily fixed by the purchase of a safe, or if you're like me, you've already got some of those and they carry other things inside of them. And so, absolutely, though, Johnny, you do not need to go running off in a panic. But I would say, Johnny, you need to start planning on getting off of Lobster. Absolutely. Start planning on it. Let's not go running off, though, in any kind of crazy way. Let's plan where we're going. We're going to another exchange or we're going to a hardware wallet. You pick. Which are we going to? And then set either of those up. And so if it's an exchange, you need to set up an account with the exchange. If it's a hardware wallet, then you're going to need to get a hardware wallet. If you do decide you want a hardware wallet, Johnny, make certain you buy it from the factory. I have got a link in the description on my one of my links down there, my link tree, that will make certain you go to the right website. But Johnny, all I care about is you make certain you buy it from the right website. You don't buy a hardware wallet from Best Buy, Amazon, or eBay. You don't go trying to save a few dollars by buying one secondhand on that. But if you use the link, you will get some free Bitcoin, which is nice. All right. Uphold is an exchange. Look at them as on and off ramps on the financial interstate. And you can safely leave your treasure on interstate, bring your property home safe. That's a great way of looking at it. Yes. Exchanges are that they're the way station between digital currencies and traditional brick and mortar, traditional finance. They are where our worlds merge. And they're very quickly becoming pretty much like banks, and banks are going to become very much like centralized exchanges. And so, absolutely, I think they're always going to remain to a degree. I think banks will start taking up the mantle and they'll start doing this also. But essentially, there's always going to be this way station in between the two, at least for the next couple of decades at the minimum, because it will take decades to bring everything on chain. Shoot, it could take a century when you start to really talk about everything. And so, yes, I see exchanges remaining a very important part of the future, and I see them kind of changing how we view them. I don't think we're going to really view exchanges as exchanges in the same way we do today in the coming years. We're going to start viewing an exchange more like a bank, and we're going to start viewing a bank more like an exchange. It's going to be an odd combo between the two. All right, let's see. There's some great questions. I am loving the chat today, guys. We have had some awesome ones. All right, though, let's jump back over. I've got a few more articles to dig into. Of course, we've gone through our big one. Little worrying right there. We'll be keeping up on it, and I would definitely recommend that anyone who does want a bit more knowledge, a bit more information on the Clarity Act, follow that link in the chat. It's a good one. All right, so the market is down. Crypto funds experienced $1.73 billion in outflows in just a week. This would make it the worst week of ETF outflows since November of 2025, with the primary sales all coming out of the Bitcoin ETFs in particular, but they're not entirely alone. Ripple did finally break. Its it had an ongoing streak of permanent inflow days, more money coming into the spot XRP ETFs than going out. It had that going for a very, very long time, but we have finally seen a little bit. Spot XRP ETFs saw about 40.6 million in weekly outflows, suggesting institutional profit taking and rotation rather than a loss of confidence in the asset. And why they say this, of all of the major cryptos that have a spot ETF, right now XRP is the best performing of all cryptocurrencies. And you know that doesn't really feel like all that great of a compliment when you're looking at $1.93, but you got to think about it in the context of it decoupling from Bitcoin. Bitcoin down 0.4% in the past 24 hours. XRP is up 3.7% in the past 24 hours. And so now it has not taken us to some kind of crazy price tag, but it is clearly being indicated in the market. The market is clearly indicating that XRP, amongst the traditionally traded cryptocurrencies, is the highest performing at this point in time. And despite the fact that it has seen the $40 million in weekly outflows, it continues to be extremely net positive inflows for the month of January. And so the XRP spot ETFs are at this point set to end the month of January as the top performing crypto asset. Hey, consolation prizes. I'll take them. All right. BlackRock. How BlackRock lost control of the $10 billion tokenized treasury market to Circle for one simple mechanical reason. Now, there's one bigger takeaway here that honestly I think should have probably been the headliner of the article. $10 billion. The tokenized treasury market has just passed $10 billion. And so, what are these? These are tokenized U.S. Treasury bonds. They are Treasury bonds, 5, 10-year, etc., that are tokenized and sold in a digital format on the blockchains. They have now exceeded $10 billion in capital in form of tokenized treasuries. And so a fairly substantial number to have passed, and absolutely an indication that tokenized treasuries are now here to stay. They're becoming a part of the institution. It's going to keep on going. And so that to me was the far bigger takeaway here, but BlackRock is losing out. And so Circle has actually managed to edge past BlackRock as being the largest tokenized treasury product. And this is very exciting to see. Circle, of course, is a major company, but it's not BlackRock. BlackRock is the boogeyman of the financial world, and it's getting beaten. And it's getting beaten because it's still stuck in the past. Circle has the technology and the on and off ramps to allow for digital currencies to flourish. Everybody with BlackRock may have had all the money. BlackRock doesn't have the technology. And so BlackRock has actually taken their first major L on this one, and it's probably not going to turn around. And here is what is important. We talked about this one during the predictions for the year, the fact that 2026 is the make it or break it point. We need to see people releasing usable, functioning technology. We need to see people companies being profitable. We need to see services being utilized. And well, we're starting to see how the companies that already have the technology, already have the know-how, are starting to win, because that's exactly how this happened. Circle came out July 24th. Binance announced that institutional customers could use Binance as an on and off exchange collateral for derivatives with the USYC, the Circle's tokenized treasury bonds. And so Build, the BlackRock version of this, took 4 months after that to actually be released. And so despite having all the money in the world, BlackRock was not capable of actually beating the tech company to the punch. They came in 4 months after the fact, and there are widespread beliefs that they copied the Circle's technology and that's how they actually managed to accomplish it in 4 months. And so we're starting to see where certain companies are going to have the edge. That's why I talked about the fact that XRP has a huge edge in the real world tokenization aspect. And that's going to be the biggest growing market of the coming years, is going to be tokenized assets. Ripple actually has the technology and the ability where all of these other companies and banks and institutions, they've got all the money in the world, but they don't actually have the technology. And so an exciting one to see right here. This is definitely not a David and Goliath type win. But I would have to say it's at the minimum, it is, I don't know, King Kong beating up Godzilla or something. Circle should not have been able to beat BlackRock, is what I'm saying here. Should not. If you were a gambling man and you had gambled on this at the beginning of 2025, you would have said, no way in heck. All right. Oh, ZooTube 2024. Thank you so much for the kind words. And yes, I hope that those who have had both bad and good experiences in crypto can still learn and can still participate. Are there reputable crypto advisors such as whom you correct? Unfortunately, Cosmic Lioness. Unfortunately, I do not really know many out there. There are not many people who are very knowledgeable, and the folks that are fairly knowledgeable about it, they're particularly hard to get with. Joey Mathis, any suggestions or updates for Doge? Well, when it comes down to the meme coins, I always own a little bit, Joey. I always have a little bit of Doge, but I do not try to gamble on or try to guess when the price of Doge is going to go up. Joey, Elon Musk is the person who's probably going to make Doge's price go back up again. I absolutely believe that Doge's price is going to go back up again at some point in the future. Is it based off of any fundamental value? Absolutely not. But it is a part of the new world, essentially. These meme coins, this viral nature of the internet is not going to go away. You're still going to have meme coin projects that do very well, and some people are going to make a lot of money doing it, but it's not based on anything fundamental, Joey. And so it's really hard for me to look at Doge and analyze what it can do. Doge doesn't do anything. Doge's value is how many people are tweeting about it. And the more people that tweet, the more value Doge has, especially if somebody like Elon Musk tweets about it. He is really the golden goose for Doge holders. If you want to make some quick money, just anytime Elon Musk tweets about Doge, buy Doge and sell it 10 minutes later. You'll make a cool 5 or 6% in that 10-minute time frame. Meme streamer. Yo, do you read chat? I do, man. I do. Over there on Twitch as well. Welcome, memes. All right. Let's jump into some of our last articles of the day, and then we'll get any last questions y'all have got. Yeah. All right. XRP. This is the one we had been looking at overall. And, you know, I'll throw the article in there so that y'all can go through it as well. Ultimately, as I've said many times before, and I know I'm a broken record on it, there's really no negative news. I know the price may not look like it, but there's no negative news for XRP right now. The overall cryptocurrency markets, the only real negative news going on is the delays in the Clarity Act. I suppose you could argue the tariff conflicts, they're not optimal for cryptocurrency. I think that they're being given too much weight often, because we did see that massive downturn in the cryptocurrency markets when the European Union started to threaten tariffs against the United States over Trump's plans for Greenland. That massively tore into the market. It doesn't logically make sense why it would do that, not to that degree, but I suppose it does remain a concern, because this is something we've seen many times now. And so it doesn't have to make sense if it repeats every time the tariff conflict comes up, the crypto market has a substantial downturn. At that point, it doesn't matter whether it makes sense. It's real. And so I can absolutely say it's real. And that is another concern that we currently have on the horizon. But otherwise, XRP has nothing negative. You can go through that article, and the technical analysis breakdown on XRP at this point in time remains extremely strong. Ultimately, the same exact argument really goes for the majority of the cryptocurrency market. Ethereum remains extremely strong. XRP extremely strong. Solana and Bitcoin, a little bit of hesitancy in terms of where the numbers are going, but otherwise strong. And so I would absolutely take the current downturn with a grain of salt. It's, I guess, another opportunity for some folks who wanted to stock up a little bit more. But when it comes down to it, there's nothing to point at in terms of where the market is currently at that would be negative. There really isn't anything, especially for XRP right now. All right. And with that, I think that actually ties right in to one of these other articles. World Liberty Financial. So World Liberty Financial, guys, is the Trump team cryptocurrency, the one that's backed by the Trump children. And it had a major shift. We've talked about World Liberty a lot. We looked at it during its pre-sale and all of that stuff. Still angry about the fact that, you know, it was such a weird thing to participate in during the election season. But they have been very telling with where they have been allocating funds. And, well, they just recently made a very odd one. Or, well, what many people view as being very odd. World Liberty Financial sold $8 million of Bitcoin, wrapped Bitcoin. What wrapped means is it's just Bitcoin that has essentially been put onto another blockchain. It's still Bitcoin, but it's on the Ethereum blockchain. And so they sold $8 billion of Bitcoin, and reallocated it into 2,868 Ethereum coins. This move highlights a deliberate preference for Ethereum over Bitcoin. The swaps were split between multiple tranches via Gnosis Safe and Cal protocol, minimizing slippage and showing careful liquidity management. It appears to be a fairly substantial reallocation. World Liberty Financial has executed a striking portfolio rotation that's caught the market's attention. The move underscores a deliberate shift in asset preference rather than a retreat from digital currencies. Yeah, duh. I don't know why they felt like that sentence needed added to the article, but absolutely. And so I very much believe that this shift in the allocation is actually because of the Clarity Act. And so Ethereum, as we have discussed in the past, Ethereum is the utility blockchain. You can build things on it. You can create projects and make video games. You can do all kinds of things on the Ethereum blockchain that you can't do on Bitcoin. You can tokenize treasuries on the Ethereum blockchain. You could tokenize gold. You could tokenize silver. You could tokenize everything on the planet. The Ethereum blockchain can be built on. Bitcoin can't. Not like that. Bitcoin is a store of value. That's it. It's what the blockchain is genuinely capable of doing. Ethereum, with the Clarity Act, is about to get a supercharge effect. Solana, Ethereum, XRP to a lesser degree, some of the other utility-based blockchains are going to see a huge boon from the Clarity Act. I strongly believe that that's why World Liberty Financial made this rotation. They're rotating out of Bitcoin, not because they don't like Bitcoin, but because the upside for Ethereum with the passage of the Clarity Act is very, very high. Expectations, and this is not just Zach saying it, but expectations are that the Clarity Act's passage could push Ethereum back above its all-time high. Its all-time high was $5,000. And so I believe that these rotations are occurring because the upside for Ethereum is higher right now. Remember, all-time high, $4,946. Expectations from many analysts are that the passage of the Clarity Act could result in it passing back across that all-time high and setting a new one. And I'm in that camp. I believe that the passage of the Clarity Act fundamentally changes the value proposition of Ethereum because now you can build on Ethereum legally. And it's not a gray legal area. And so I believe that's why the Trump team is rotated $8 million out of Bitcoin and over into Ethereum. I could be right. I could be wrong. They could know things that I do not know anything about. I don't get in on all of those meetings, unfortunately. All right. And for our last one, upcoming Senate bill decision triggers divergent expectations from crypto users. And so this is what I had kind of been talking about for a while. And here we go with January 26th. So today, U.S. Senate will vote on crypto market structure bill tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard. And so this is tomorrow. There is the potential for the vote to come forth. The bill is designed to reduce market manipulation in crypto. If it passes, the market's going to go parabolic. If it fails, the market's going to dump even more. In the short term, I think this is pretty much it. I think this is pretty much true. And so, according to the Senate schedule, all right, man, of course, now it decides that it's going to go ahead and load that update. And so, according to the Senate schedule, lawmakers will vote on the crypto market structure bill, proposed legislation designed to establish comprehensive federal regulatory framework for digital assets, defining when tokens are securities or commodities. And so, if that vote does end up going through and does occur tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you're going to know whether that vote passed or failed based off of nothing more than sitting right here and refreshing the CoinGecko website. That's where you're going to figure that one out. You don't even need to keep up with it. The market is going to tell you. You see an extremely green market, the bill passed. And so that is going to be the major focus of the week, guys. That is going to be the primary focus. We're going to be very focused on the crypto legislation and seeing where it lands. It's going to be probably the determining factor of whether we're looking at a green week for crypto or a very, very red week for crypto. But all right. I'll do one or two last ones, and then I am going to go running off. But thank you guys so much for joining me today. Judy Barber, please tell us which cryptos to have in your opinion for newbies. And so, all right, Judy, I'm not a big fan of saying, hey, this one, and this one. But Judy, what I would say, and of course, not financial advice, that I would highly recommend that people look at cryptocurrency in the same way that you look at the stock market. And so what I mean by that is there are many different industries that are represented in the stock market. You could say invest in Ford. And of course, Ford tractors and Ford automobiles. You're investing in the automobile industry. But you could also invest in mining stocks. And then you're investing in the precious metals industry. You could also invest in, say, a pharmaceutical company, investing in the pharmaceutical industry. I think, Judy, that people need to keep that in mind and they need to start looking at crypto that way. And so, Judy, if I were just saying, hey, you're new to crypto, I'd say, hey, you need to go look at these cryptocurrencies. I'd say you need to go learn about XRP and Bitcoin and Ethereum. Judy, I'd highly recommend you look into Chainlink. I'd recommend you look into cryptocurrencies that are utilities. They're used. They're profitable. And Chainlink is always an example I love to use. Sergey Nazarov and the guys over there at Chainlink are brilliant, in all honesty, brilliant. And their business is a useful, fundamental business of the future. Chainlink takes data from off-chain to on-chain, or from on-chain to off-chain. Every crypto company has to pay for their service. And so I wouldn't say any names in particular, Judy. I know I just said a few, but I'm using those as examples for things for you to look at and to compare other cryptos to. And so when you're out there and you're looking, Judy, go through the big ones. Look at Bitcoin and Ethereum and XRP. Look at Chainlink. But then also look at those and take some lessons from them. And that way, when you are looking at that new cryptocurrency or somebody out there says, hey, you should check out, yada, yada token. Well, if you've gone through and you've learned what to look for in companies that are doing the right things, it becomes a lot easier to look at companies and notice when they're not. And so, Judy, that's where I would start. I wouldn't go trying, though, to say that there's any particular crypto. I don't believe that any one crypto is going to be the ultimate winner. That would not really be fair. There's going to be a lot of winners. It's going to be a lot of winners. And then there's going to also probably be some losers. But when it comes down to it, we're not going to live in a world where there's only one crypto. If we live in that world where there's only one crypto and XRP won everything, we are living with a central bank digital currency. And so we're going to have more than one winner. We need to have more than one winner. I highly recommend diversification when it comes down to it and looking at it that way. Chainlink provides a service. Well, XRP doesn't provide that service or do anything related to it. They're in different industries. And so when you start to look at crypto that way, the landscape becomes a lot easier. It's a whole lot easier because that's something you're used to. You understand that, to a small degree or to some degree, you understand how, the automobile industry works. You understand some of these things. And so it gives you a groundwork to work off of. Start viewing cryptos as businesses, Judy. You want the cryptos that are successful businesses. Those are the ones that are going to be the big winners in the future, and in my non-professional opinion. All right. Rich Roper. Late today, got in a pickup argument about temps. Hey, that happens. That happens. All right. Pamela Flaccid, what happens if it doesn't pass? Do they go back to the drawing board then, Zester? Pamela, if it doesn't pass, I would expect that it would then go back in. They would go back in for compromise. And so essentially they'd be going back through and they'd be yanking things out, adding things in, and then having to reintroduce it to the Senate. And here's the real tough one, Pamela. If they alter it to too large of a degree, it has to go back to the House. And so the Senate really can't do but so much to this thing besides add some writers and pass it, or add some writers and not pass it. And so, Pamela, I personally think that they're just trying to delay. I absolutely believe that the banking lobby is just trying as hard as they can, but we'll see if they succeed. Epicenter, Deborah, Zester, I have friends in Texit token. It looks scammy to me. Thoughts? Epicenter, I have looked at Texit a lot of times. It's a very cool idea. But I absolutely agree, Epicenter. It looks scammy as all get out. The thing reeks of scam. But it's a cool idea. And so for those that are not aware, Texit token is a Texas-based cryptocurrency designed and saying that it's going to start essentially running the Texas currency at some point in time. It's very interesting. It's very, very interesting. But I absolutely do not own any, and I will not own any because of exactly what you said, Deborah. The thing screams scam to me. And so for anybody out there that has some or not, hey, I don't know. I personally just keep an eye on it. Yeah, it's this one. Texit for Texas by Texans. Fast and inexpensive mineable blockchain. New site coming soon. Yeah, it's just very, very odd. It doesn't, to me, look like it doesn't look like the future, in my opinion. I could be very, very wrong. And so if I end up being extremely wrong about Texit coin, that is absolutely on me. But yeah, when it comes down to it, and I would also point out a lot of the internet is behind me on this one. The top 10 holders of Texit coin hold 93% of the entire supply. Yeah, so I would, and Deborah, it's interesting. I want it to be true, and I'd love to talk to somebody who is like actually a part of Texit coin, because it's not a bad idea. And if I could talk to somebody that was a part of the project, I might change my entire opinion on it. I might easily change my entire opinion on it. But from the outside looking in, as you know, not knowing any of those other things, you know, I've watched some of their like, you know, like Twitter lives and things like that. The guys that are a part of the team, they all sound like great guys. It sounds like great people, but I cannot get past that huge red flag that I see when I look at it. And so I'd love to chat with them, though. So if anybody knows any of the guys over there at Texit Coin, or you know somebody that does, I would love to chat with them. And I am very open to changing my opinion on it. Very, very open. All right. Oh, Cosmic. Lots of things happening at the same time. This whole week has got one buttload of things all trying to happen at the same time. Things are definitely getting to the breaking point. Rich Roper, we'll be putting currency RV directly. Absolutely. Rich Roper, for me, it will be a massive, massive, immediate haul towards precious metals, cryptocurrency, and land. The things they're not making any more of, or that they're not making any more of it fast. Absolutely, Rich. But I will say, I will be very, very focused on essentially it will not be everything. It would be very much one part of the diversification. very much one part of the diversification for me. I'd probably go so far as to say about 20% of it would end up going directly into digital assets in some form or fashion. Probably 20 to 25%. And when I say digital assets, I don't mean just Bitcoin. I mean Pax Gold, tokenized gold. I mean tokenized dollar derivatives. I mean tokenized. That is what I mean. I don't necessarily mean it'd be all in Bitcoin or all in XRP. There would be, of course, I would get more XRP, more Bitcoin, more Ethereum. I'd get a few different other cryptos that I want to stock up more on. And then I'd also be getting a buttload of tokenized. Yep, Epicenter LLC, once rug pulled, always sucks. Yeah, it only takes getting rug pulled once, and you start to look at everybody with a side eye. And I have been rug pulled. Absolutely, I have been rug pulled before, guys. It happens. I have been in crypto for about a decade now. I have been rug pulled more than once. More than once, I have been rug pulled. And yes, it gets you unawares. You start to look at things like that. You look at a project, or you look at anything about that project, and it reminds you of one that rug pulled you, and you immediately have a bias. Crazy chat off there putting RV cash into Glenn. Absolutely. For me, it's not going to be a matter of trying to grow it. That's not what I'm going to be focused on. My focus is going to be on maintaining it. If I am going to get once in a lifetime wealth, the one thing I'm going to make certain I don't do is ever let it get away. And so I'm not going to be sitting there looking for the next big winner or anything like that. No, I am going to be making certain that when I die, that money is all still sitting there. That is what I'm going to be focused on. So that very much skews the way that I view the use of it. I'm not viewing it as, oh, I'm going to go start some new company and we're going to go making this or this or this. No, I am getting that money and I am making certain that I never lose it. And so I'm going to be very focused on affordable housing, rentals, land, gold, silver, regular staking incomes, passive income, ensuring that I never have to actually use any of that money. Because that's my ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is that I would never spend any of it. That I would get $20 million and that I would live the rest of my life off of that interest, off of that 20 million, and I'd never touch the 20. That's the real goal, in my opinion. And so that's what I'm going to be trying to do with it. And I just use that number as a, example number. Whatever that number may be, I just want to make certain I never lose it. And that's going to very much skew where my decisions are in terms of where I allocate it. If I were to say that I was going full tilt towards, hey, I think that I would probably be allocating more like 50 or 60% towards crypto. I would be allocating far larger percentages towards investing directly in certain of the future financial systems. And I absolutely will be doing that. But I'm going to be more worried about keeping it than growing it. At least that's my thought right now. But you never know. You never know once the time arrives and what opportunities may be sitting in front of us at that point in time. And that could definitely change my tune. But all right, guys, I had a lot of fun this morning. Thank you guys so much for joining. I hope y'all learned something. And I hope you'll come back and join me again on Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be back. I've got a few different thoughts on what I want to cover on Wednesday, because I really want to do another focused stream on either staking or prediction markets. And so expect us either to be gambling on Wednesday or to be staking crypto. I think it's going to be one of the two. We're either going to do prediction markets and we're going to talk about their future, where they're going. We're going to participate in a prediction market. Or we're going to go the staking route, one of the two. But don't worry, we're going to end up doing both of those at some point in time. I'm just not certain which one I want to do on Wednesday. So we'll all find out together. All right, guys. Love you. I will see you guys very, very soon. Everyone have an awesome week.